Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final stream of the season. I've called it the FPL knee-jerk stream, but I guess we're not massively knee-jerking to anything because there's no game week next week. But anyway, that's what it's called. Going to react to, I would say, all the action in game week 38, but I think unless you have Bowen or Semenyo, there probably hasn't been all that much action for you. And then kind of a bit of a reflection on the season. Look ahead to next season as well. This will be a very chilled out stream because obviously there's no decisions to be made about transfers and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I will check the chat and answer some of your questions. For me, I finished on 54 points, it's looking like, which is pretty rubbish this week. And it's a red arrow from about 68k to 77k. It's always really disappointing to finish on a red arrow. Did I make a mistake in the final game week? I kept Palmer and I bought Ben White. I didn't go for Saka. That feels like an okay move. Ben White got an assist, couldn't hold on for the clean sheet. Vissa, Evan Nielsen, Isak, Rodgers, Palmer, they all blanked. Mbeumo super high owned, Salah captain super high owned, Vardy clean sheet super high owned. Just none of my players that I needed to come in came in. So disappointing finish. 77k is going to be my fourth worst ever finish. But I have played for 15 seasons. So if 77k is my fourth worst finish, I'm not doing that bad. But I would like to start getting back into the top 25k, top 10k maybe next season if I can, because it has been a little while now. It's 3 seasons since I've been in the top 10k. So we'll see what happens. Yes, I do have the game week 1 deadline countdown already active. 1,967 hours, 55 minutes and 47 seconds till the game week 1 deadline. It's about 82 days away for anyone that's already missing FPL. The Palmer punts have to stop. Look, fair enough, right? I never told anyone to buy Palmer this week, but I think it was the right call to keep him. I was never going to do Palmer to Bowen, for example. And maybe, I could look back on that and say that was a massive mistake, but I think it made more sense for me to bench Nico Williams, who lost his clean sheet, and to sell Saliba. That's what I did. It just didn't pay off in massive points. Palmer wasn't very good today, again, to be honest with you. But if I'd sold Palmer, I would have gone Saka. So, whatever, really. City clean sheet put me 4 points short of 100k. Ouch. 8 green arrows in a row, 3.5 million at game week 8. Wow, very nice. Congratulations. Lost my £1,000 mini league by 1 point. That hurts. Won my mini league by 3 points after being 143 behind after game week 32. Wow, what a comeback. But why not Palmer to Bowen? Yeah, but I would have gone Saka. There's no point in moaning about Bowen. I wouldn't have gone for him anyway. Solid pick for Torreira and regretted it big time. Should have listened to you. Yeah, goalkeeper transfers are never that interesting. But anyway, one thing to point out is I think a lot of hits this week didn't work. So it's always worth bearing in mind, because I think I said this on the final thoughts video, I think it was. We always remember when we don't take the hit and it would have massively worked out. We always forget the times when the hits don't work. And I think a lot of hits in 38 have just not done that well. Morgan Rogers was robbed of a goal. Yes, I think Aston Villa fans can be very frustrated that goal was ruled out. I will say this, and Villa fans are probably not in the right frame of mind at the moment to hear this. I do think Man United probably deserved the win based on the brief bits I watched, plus the stats and, the general commentary from people watching that game. It felt like Man United were kind of all over Villa for a lot of that match. So, obviously the game would have been different. Villa scored and they try and hang on, etc. They may well have gone on to win, but overall, I'm not sure Villa did enough in that game to win, but they can still consider themselves massively unlucky that goal was ruled out. I kept Bruno Fernandes and he goes and gives a penalty to Eriksen. Yeah, Eriksen's leaving. That's basically the only reason. Salah captain in for a hit worked for me. Yeah, to be fair, anyone that took a hit to get Salah captain from like a De Bruyne or someone like that was probably pretty good. It probably worked out quite well. Assuming the bonus points don't change, I will finish the season on exactly the same points as last year, 2531. Last year, that got me 36k finish. This year, 65. Yeah, that's probably primarily because we've had an extra chip added. I don't think it's a case that this has been a massively higher scoring season. Danny Welbeck just not in the squad. This is probably something to note for next season if we're looking at Brighton players. Hertzler is not that forthcoming with information. Now, maybe Welbeck's injury happened after the press conference. But there's a few times now, João Pedro or Welbeck just not been in the squad, but we've not heard about it. Thank you for the content. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be here all again next season. And by the way, if you took the Welbeck punt on, it's going to be no consolation because ultimately points are what matter. But it was a good decision, I think. You know, they won 4-1. We targeted, like, people that went Brighton players targeted Spurs for a reason. That paid off. But unfortunately, the Welbeck part of it did not pay off. I think at the end of the season, you should disregard price tags. You mentioned how you would use the extra funds if you downgrade player X to Y, but team structure means less. Yeah, I also think that's just a bit hindsighty, to be honest with you, because Bowen's done well and Salah, Saka and Palmer and Haaland just haven't. And it's not just, like, I'm not, you know, begrudging anyone their Bowen points. He was a really good pick. But I think saying we should disregard, like, as if that's like something to do every end of the season, we just forget about player prices. Obviously, we should try and forget about that at any point in the season. If a player is cheaper and better, you should buy them. But I don't think that's a learning for next season, personally. My first season watching, learned a lot. Nice. Again, I'll be here next season if you want to watch again. Any off-season FPL videos? I'll probably do like an end-of-season review. So I think with the stream, because, you know, the game week's only just finished, I've already done 2 other streams today. This is always a bit more all over the place, but I'll probably do a end of season review video, which is a bit more kind of concise thoughts on stuff like, you know, bad decisions, good decisions, favorite parts of the season. I mean, favorite parts of the season: free hit 34, triple Arsenal defense, and Bruno Fernandes smashing it for a while. Probably my 3 favorite parts. Won my mini league by 11 points. My rival and I both got 62. Very nice. Bowen, my hero, if only I captain him. A lot of people captained him this week. Anyone on the wall after this season? Probably Jose Sarr. Did fairly well in my mini leagues, even with De Bruyne out for Saka captain. Thanks for this season. Hope the break is nice. Well deserved. Thank you very much. Up the mags. Yeah, well done, Newcastle. You're the best FPL creator. I'm not sure that's true, but thank you. So easy to listen to and a great voice for this sort of thing. Had my best ever finish taking advice from your videos. Very nice. Yeah, happy days. I'm just quite hard on myself with like ranks. I want to get a decent rank as well as, like, you know, making hopefully decent-ish videos that people want to watch. Like I want to get back into that top 25k and like top 10k. It will always be an aim no matter how many people are playing. Underpriced players you have your eye on for 25, 26. Honest, I have to wait for the prices, don't I? Like, I can't tell you that until I get the prices. I won 5 of 6 mini leagues with 2,470 points and £1,500. Very nice. Salah goal got me from 7.5k to 12k. 12k is still great. Like, it is annoying when you finish like 10.5, 11, 11.5, 12k because you're so close to 10k. But that's still an amazing finish, honestly. You should be happy with that. Thank you for being the calming voice in FPL. When I've had a bad game week, your streams and videos help me. Is that because I'm doing worse? Won both my mini leagues, clawed back 11 points a day in one. Very nice. All thanks to Bowen, £855. Congratulations. Although it's actually 850 because you just given £5 to me, but I appreciate it. In mid-season, you pay more attention to team structure and price tags to be able to move in expensive players with one single free transfer. Yes. I don't really get the point you're trying to make there. You're basically saying I should have Bowen instead of Palmer because of price. Is that what you're trying to say? I don't get what the learning is for the end of next season. Like, what are you trying to point out that Bowen should have been in? Club World Cup content, that seems very unlikely, but you never know. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, if I need something to do, I'll look at the Club World Cup. Never really been engaged in FPL despite doing it for 10 years. Stayed engaged all year, mainly thanks to you, and managed to smash 50k rank. Congratulations. Scott, 15 months. Great job. Best finishing for me. Very nice. Congratulations again. I feel like for anyone listening on podcasts, this is going to be a bit of a weird stream, I think. Will you be doing World Cup qualifier team selection videos? I don't think so. World Cup qualifiers? Is that even a thing? Captain Bowen took the risk. Congratulations. Salah price prediction for next season, 14 million. I think I said this earlier on the watch along. I think they kind of set the precedent by putting Haaland 14 million this year. I think they have to put Salah at 14. Minimum, by the way. You know, you could even argue 14.5 because of how many points he scored, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they will expect a Salah downturn next year, which, by the way, if Salah has a downturn, that's still an amazing return of points. But yeah, I think 14. I'm saying at the end of the season, tend to ignore player prices and trying to pick the best inform. But I think we're always doing that. That's the thing. That's what we should always be doing, trying to get the most points from our budget. I kind of get what you're saying, that you want to leave yourself open to easy routes to players at certain times of the season, but ultimately it feels like you're saying we should just pick players not because of their price, but ones who are going to score points. And I feel like that's what we're always pretty much trying to do. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it as always. Good to see you around for another season. Bowen the hero, top of my leagues, very nice. Did anyone else do bad, by the way? Did anyone else has anyone else had a bad final game week like me? They don't feel great about it. Is that what Salah finished on? 361 points. Incredible. Is that Shaquille? I think that's probably Shaquille, right? Not only have I finished in the top 100k for the first time, but I have finished top 50k, 32k rank. I've watched your video since game week 1 and wouldn't have achieved it without it. Very nice. Congratulations. Game week 38 done. We're straight into predicting the player pricing. I mean, it's that kind of stream, right? There's no talk about transfers and stuff like that. So it's all about kind of end of this season, next season. You know, a lot of people are talking about in Burmo. He scored again today. 20 goals this season for him. Absolute joke. Especially for his starting price tag. I remember, like, if Ivan Toney, if I remember correctly, we didn't know Ivan Toney was going at the start of the season. Like, did he not go before the first international break? Like, I really think in Burma would have been in my game week 1 team. Like that's how good he is once he gets penalties. Like he's finished on 235 points. Whew. I think he'll be 9. I wouldn't be surprised with an 8.5. I don't think they'll go crazy with him. But if he stays at Brentford, could be 9. In Burma, we'll definitely get less points next year, though. Honestly, this will be like when Bowen got over 200. I will die on this hill. Cole Palmer should not be reduced in price. I will die on this hill. Had a 30-point lead and lost it. How did that happen? Ouch. Yeah, in Burma probably will move clubs. Ideally for FPL, you want the transfer to happen before a player is priced, because if Mbeumo goes somewhere where he's definitely not going to get penalties, which is probably most clubs he would move to, then you don't want his price to be quite so high, and also his minutes won't be so good, etc. I may have a front three of Evanilson, Visser, Isak if their fixtures are good to start next season. Visser scored 19 open play goals, most underrated season in my opinion. He's been great. Absolutely. And it's not been a fluke really. His goal threat has just been incredible. He's like a 0.5 XG per 90 player. Palmer should be 10 million, just went half a season without scoring a non-penalty goal. I get it, but I still don't think I would do it. Maybe. I think he should stay 10.5. I guess the problem, FPL might reduce his price because if he carries on like this, no one's going to pick him. And you do want to price players so people will actually think about it. My learning is don't bet against early season Salah. Game week 12 is too late to bring him in. Yeah, fair enough. But honestly, it might make more sense next season to not start with Salah if he's 14 million. Especially if a lot of the other players go up that we will want. Will I start with Verts next season? Possibly. I mean, there's not really any point in me saying who I will or won't start with because prices and fixtures will dictate everything as always. Bro went from I would die on this hill to maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't reduce them in price, but maybe FPL will. $2,600 points required for a top 10k finish at an average of 68.5 points per game week. Oof. Yeah, that is good. You inspire me to start an F1 fantasy channel. It couldn't be going any better. Nice. Good luck with it. Just keep going. If Wirtz is coming for 150 million, he won't be cheap. I don't know about that, to be honest. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe they'll price him at 10. FPL are very low with prices these days. I would say Wirtz is probably a 9, 9.5. I've managed a top 10 finish. 10th. Ooh, despite my first red since game week 21. Wow. Amazing. Congratulations. Imagine finishing 10th. How good that would feel. I'll be on cloud 9 right now. Congratulations. Do you agree Sarr is top troll of the season? No. I think he's just been a good pick. 9 to 9.5 without pens is not cheap. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of a bit more old school. Where, like, yeah, I get it. The way FPL currently price plays, you're right. It's not that cheap, but I think that should be seen as about standard, really. How much do I think Frimpong will be? Based on this season's price is 5.5, but I have a feeling that some defenders will go up next year because Trent's leaving, so you haven't got that big attacking defender anymore. Palmer needs to live in that tempter spot where Son used to live. Not quite 11 million premium, a bit less, maybe 10. I'm still saying 10.5. Don't reduce him, but I get why everyone's saying it. Just 6 points from top 10k, so close. What about Mbermo? We kind of already talked about him. What type of content are you planning through the break? There won't really be much because no one will really watch it. Like, obviously, there will be some people that watch it, but the viewers go down so much, as you should, right? Enjoy the break from FPL because in about a month and a week, a month and 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking about first drafts again and stuff like that. So just enjoy the time off. Oh, a template will always be formed. Yeah, I mean, I've said that for years. Like, there will always be some kind of template. Can price rises from original price to game week 1? No prices can rise until the season starts. I will do the sleeper draw for game week 38 at the end of the stream, by the way. What do you think about Gyökeres? I don't know how you pronounce his name yet. I need to figure it out. Gyökeres to Arsenal. A really hot top scorer for Arsenal with Saka and Odegaard delivering the assists. Again, he's probably like a 9, 9.5 if he comes in without penalties, in my opinion. Like, back in the day, Salah came in at 9 million, and I don't think we 100% knew he was on penalties at the time. Like that's where I would see like Wirtz and Gyökeres. I think they should be 9, 9.5 straight away. But FPL just go cheap these days, so I just don't know if they're going to do the prices any different. Am I crazy for thinking Bruno is already a good game week 1 starting pick? Definitely not. Definitely not. Like, where did Bruno Fernandes end up finishing? He was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th highest scoring player. Not actually that far ahead of Semenyo, by the way. So he's always consistent, Bruno. Just never. He's not going to get back to that 240 points. That was just a ridiculous season where Man United got loads of penalties. He's always consistent. Also, I don't think there's a great way to measure this. I was thinking about this earlier randomly. Like, someone like Fernandes, and probably similar with Bowen and Mbermo, yes, they get you points consistently. And in this case, like in this season, Mbermo's been amazing. But I wonder if there's some value. Maybe you need like a really smart maths person, analytics person to tell you this. Is there some value in players like Fernandes because you never have to worry about transferring them out? When I say that, I don't mean you never want to transfer them out because they will go through periods where they don't do well. They've got bad fixtures, but they're never going to give you an injury. And so even if they don't always deliver like top points, they're going to tick over and you can spend your moves on more important stuff. Does that make sense? But it's really hard to quantify it, I think. And ultimately, if there's other players doing really well, you're always going to want them instead. But yeah, maybe Bruno Fernandes game week 1 again. Who knows? Will be incredibly tempting, but new signings usually suck. Nah, that's a myth, honestly. What about Evan Nilsson this season? He's done really well. He's a new signing. There's loads of players, if you go back, that have done well. The narrative is always that new players to the league never hit it off, but it happens plenty of times. Like Wirtz at Liverpool, Gyökeres at Arsenal, I think they'd be good straight away. I don't think Bruno's leaving. If Bruno was leaving, I think there would have been something at the end of the game. Not like a I don't necessarily think they would have announced it like at the end of the game, but I think Bruno would not have been able to hold back the tears, etc. Haaland was a pretty terrible first-year pick. Huh? Was he? Mark my words, next season Sunderland are staying. I highly doubt it, but you never know. It'd be nice if the newly promoted teams don't all go down straight away, because it's becoming a bit of a thing, right? I'll be honest, like I am every single season. I do not know much about the 3 teams coming up, Burnley, Leeds, and Sunderland, in terms of players that might be options. My instinct is, same as the last few seasons, it won't matter because their prices won't be cheap enough where we'll even bother looking at them. I know some people own Delap at points this year, some people own Leif Davis, but, you know, Southampton players were never really a thing. Leicester players weren't really a thing. Like, unless FPL go back to the more old school way of pricing where, you know, newly promoted teams are much cheaper than even like teams that finish 17th, 16th, 15th, etc. They're just not going to be needed in our teams. And I won't even need to look at them. Leeds may stay up. Andy Martin thinks so. They've probably got one of the best chances from the last few years, but let's see. Had a 26-point mini league lead. Rival bought in and captain Semenyo. Nearly blew it, but Salah's bonus hold. But if Salah's bonus holds, I'll sneak it by 1 point. Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Philip. Imagine if Semenyo captain. Ouch. It's like when Simon March won FPL and he was ahead by quite a bit in the final week, and the person behind him bought and captained Walcott, and Walcott like had a hat trick or something really early on, but he did hold on in the end. Pirot, Leeds player, 32 goals in 88, but yeah, won't be cheap. Yeah, my gut feeling will be I won't start with any newly promoted players, but let's see. Extra points for defenders next season. Currently lose interest as soon as they concede. Yeah, maybe that. I mean, that could be one of the changes that FPL bring in. I mean, they might go with no changes. You don't know. Yeah, I mean, extra points would have to be like tackles and stuff like that. I've always been of the opinion that, sure, if they want to bring that into the game, it's fine. I don't think it makes the game better necessarily. I don't want to be watching a game thinking, oh, I need that player to get a tackle. But the thing is, even if they were to bring something in like that to give you more interest in defenders, they would then have to just put the prices of defenders up because they would score more points, right? So you'd be playing a slightly different game, I suppose. If there's a Friday night fixture, your game clock countdown would be wrong. Actually, incorrect, because that is based on a Friday game at 8 o'clock with a 6:30 deadline. I don't think Assistant Manager was as strong as we all expected it. I think it was pretty strong if you got it right. I scored 35 plus points, I think, just with Arne Slot. Some people got like 40 plus. Why not? You do it with goalkeepers and save points. Yeah, like it's fine. But like if you say to me right now, next season defenders are going to get extra points for tackles and interceptions, I'm not going to like throw a celebration. It's not going to be something that I think, well, wow, now I really want to play FPL. You know, it's fine. I'm not against it. I wouldn't like, you know, have a video. I can't believe FPL have done this. I just wouldn't be that excited either. And I don't think it would necessarily massively change the way we play. But let's see. Let's see. That's the point. The swings were horrible with Assistant Manager. That's why I said that as soon as the chip was launched. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, to be honest. Do you think we'll be able to activate Assistant Manager chip in game week 1? I mean, the answer has to be no, right? If they keep it the same as it was this season, there's no table bonus in game week 1, so they wouldn't be able to. So they'd either have to get rid of it or just amend it. I hope they remove it. Assistant Manager is the best chip, to be honest, if unnecessary. You get a chip for 3 game weeks with additional bonuses. Yeah, I actually don't like the 3 game week thing either, but again, it's a bit like if they introduce tackles for defenders. I'm not going to complain about Assistant Manager if they keep it. It is what it is. Yeah, 1 week would probably be a bit better. Should have gone Palmer to Bowen. I was rooting for you to finish top 50k. Even now, I look back at it, I don't think it was a mistake. Like, and when I say that, right, I know it was a literal mistake. I appreciate I would have more points now if I'd done Palmer to Bowen. But without the hindsight, like I've moved Ben White. I've bought in a defender and I've to bench a defender who lost his clean sheet to Chelsea, which I was expecting. I didn't buy Saka, who, you know, didn't play or didn't start. I feel like it was an okay move. Bowen, sure, obviously he's the one I should have bought in, but I think there's a bit of hindsight there, a little bit. Wonder if it's another mystery chip again and they'll invent another different one. Possibly. I still reckon that mystery chip was basically we haven't got it ready, so we're just going to call it a mystery. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a mystery to them as well at that point. Can't wait for the game to reopen. Picking that game week 1 team is the best part of the season. 100% agree. And like I'll put out a video, you know, early on with my first draft. And there's always comments like, why are you not considering this player? Why are you not considering that player? When it's like, you know, the game's been open less than 24 hours and we've got like a month until deadline. New mystery chip every season. Yeah, I don't know about that. Villa have filed a complaint. I mean, they're not going to get anywhere, are they? I don't know. Have they actually filed a complaint? Pre-season is definitely the best part of FPL. Yeah, for sure. It's a bit of a shame because I think we're going to have the first international break after game week 3 again. So it's such a killer at the start of the season. It kind of kills the whole vibe. I mean, I get it, right? They've got to play international matches, but yeah, it's a shame there's not a bit longer until we get that first FPL break. What's the key takeaway from this season? I honestly, I really struggle with this. Like, it sounds so arrogant, and that's not like how I mean it. Because I'm not the best manager in FPL. That's quite clear. You know, the last 3 ranks, I'm getting slowly worse actually over the last 5 seasons. But I never feel like I learn anything, other than if I could go back in time, I'd buy the player that scored the points that week. You know. Like, you know, I should have made my transfer early when that storm hit Ireland, and I should have got Solanke before I sold Munoz. Like that was a mistake, and I probably should have never made the move I ended up making. But I don't think there's too much to learn. Like, sometimes you buy players and sometimes they blank. It happens. You know, obviously don't buy Cole Palmer if he's going to go half a season without scoring a goal. But next season, he might absolutely smash it. I just don't know. Every season's a bit different for sure, yeah. Too committed to players in bad form. But it's just nonsense, isn't it? When does form start? And when? The thing is, oh, God, I hate talking about form because it's the same conversation over and over. Tell me this, right? If form is so important to how a player scores points, why did Chris Wood go out of form? Like, why did Chris Wood stop scoring points? If form is so important to continue scoring points, why did Chris Wood stop scoring points? If he had so much confidence from all those goals he scored, why did he only score 2 goals since game week 26? He got injured. He was out for 2 games. Like, Chris Wood scored in game week 36, so why did he not score in game week 37? I mean, you can't keep going on about the injury. Like, he missed like 2 or 3 games. I guarantee you, right, if I spent a bit of time going back to and looking through form, there'll be plenty of players that people brought in for form who didn't do well. Let me give you another example that sticks out in my mind. Luis Diaz, start of the season. I dropped him in game week 6 because of his minutes. You can't do that. He's in form. Then he went ages without scoring. Now, to be fair, Luis Diaz absolutely smashed it for the rest of the season overall. But there was a period where he just didn't do that well, even though he was in form before, because he didn't have the minutes. There's plenty of players that people buy because they're in form and they don't continue doing well. The inevitable form argument begins. I know, I get sucked in every single time. Is don't hold on to players not performing so long. You get scared that they'll start doing good again. I don't think that's what I do, no. People, like, they always... I mean, same as me. I'm probably using examples I've already used plenty of times before, but people always fixate that I'm holding on to players even though they're doing badly, and then they'll ignore the players I'm holding on to that are doing well. Like, even though people don't think they're that good, then they start doing well, and then there's just, you never hear about them again. Look at all the Bruno Fernandes stuff at the start of the season. If form is such a good predictor for points, why did Bruno Fernandes go from scoring no points to absolutely smashing it for like 10 game weeks? You know? I don't think anyone is saying that form lasts forever, but it is reasonable to pay more attention to how a player has played in recent matches than how they were playing 6 months ago. Yeah, fair enough. But it can also change pretty quickly, right? Like, why was everyone so keen on buying Saka this week when he'd only got like 1 goal in 7 matches? Because he was playing Southampton, right? Forget about the fact he was benched. Saka's got 6 goals this season. Everyone still wanted him for Southampton away because of the good fixture, because we know what Saka can do. Do you think we'll be targeting the newly promoted teams again as hard next season? Yeah, every single season. One of the biggest traps in FPL is picking players just because you support their team. Yeah, people kept saying that kind of nonsense to me at the start. The only player from Man United I've owned all season is Bruno Fernandes. That's it. And I haven't owned him for weeks. Honestly, yeah, if form was so important, hang on. I agree. If form is a thing in FPL, that would mean players in form need to continue to score and won't stop scoring. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't happen, does it? I would rather still pick on data and fixtures overall than just pick on form, because when does the form end and when does it start? You know, you have to time it correctly. Exactly, but there's not an exact science to that, right? You need some luck. You've just proved your point because all content creators were championing Saka, but it's nonsense, isn't it? That's not true. Oh, the form thing is like, it's just infuriating, honestly. Okay. Do you know what, right? Here's an example. Here's a better example for you. I mean, the Saka thing's not very fair because he didn't start, right? But I said, okay, back in, I can't remember what game week it was, but it was about 5 game weeks before Chris Wood played Leicester at home. Okay? So he had like 1 goal in hardly any weeks. Okay? And I said to people, Chris Wood's out of form. Tell me now, is he a good option for Leicester at home? And what does he do against Leicester? He scores because it's a good fixture. So even though he'd been out of form, he still managed to find a way to score against Leicester. Why? Because it's a good fixture. And by the way, this is not an argument to say that Cole Palmer's a great pick. I'm talking more generally, to be honest. What happened to Newcastle? I didn't watch, but apparently they were just not very good. We were all back to overall rank number 1 tomorrow. That is true. That is true. By the way, congratulations to whoever won. I didn't even look, to be honest. Who won? I'm sure they'll be on Twitter later. Form's like a roller coaster. Pile on when you're going down the big drops. Ride it while it lasts, but eventually you'll have to slow down. Yeah. I will definitely keep playing a very similar way and not worry about form for the most part, I think. And hopefully next season it pays off. It pays off. But if someone like Palmer continues to blank over bad average and good fixtures, then surely other factors like form have to come into it. Yeah, but again, it's just one example, right? Like, I've already said this weeks ago. If Cole Palmer's a good price next season and Chelsea start off with Leeds, Burnley, Man United, West Ham, I don't know, Sunderland as their first 5 fixtures, I will heavily consider Palmer, even though at that point it'll be like 9 months since he scored in the Premier League or whatever it is, like open play. I will still consider him because I know what he's capable of. It just won't bother me whatsoever. Like, here's my biggest takeaway for form. If form is so important, how will you pick a game week 1 team? If form is so important to know who's the best picks, how will you pick a game week 1 team when there's no form? What happened to Welbeck? Presumably just injured, to be honest. Number 2 in the world is an Arsenal fan. Okay, interesting. I don't even know who won. Pre-season form. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Who was that player we all picked for Wigan one year because of their pre-season form? I don't think they ever scored. Someone must have been playing that long. It's probably like 12 years ago or something. Bench boost game week 1 is a crystal ball territory. I'm not sure what that means, but I will definitely consider bench boost game week 1. Surely form is needed for player to even be considered at all, right? Or else we'd be picking any players versus Leicester. Well, I wouldn't pick any players versus Leicester. I'd pick good players against Leicester. Or Sally, possibly. Might have been them. Anyway, we're not going to agree on the form thing, I don't think. I won't be using it as much as other people. I'm not saying you shouldn't factor it in at all, but I also think it's just one of those things that doesn't matter as much as people say it does, to be honest with you. Like, next season's a new season. Who's got the best data this season? Palmer underlying numbers are great. Saka's underlying numbers are great. Visser, Evan Nilsson. You're speaking about as if players are robots. Think about it. Playing with confidence and info. Yeah, okay. No, I'm happy to admit defeat. I'm happy to admit defeat. Or pick on form, honestly. Just go to the form page and just pick players based on that. Job done. Not forcing players out is also a big part of it. It's not a question of whether someone should own Palmer in any given week. It's whether Palmer is your biggest priority to sell. Yeah, true. And to be honest, if Saliba hadn't got injured, I would have sold Palmer this week. Like, that's the thing. People will bang on about the fact I should have sold Palmer, but if Saliba hadn't got injured, I would have sold Palmer, and I would have sold him to Saka, and I'd have even less points, funnily enough. No, it wasn't like Will Grigg. Boselli was a good shout. It might have been him. There was someone that got like loads of goals in pre-season, and everyone picked him, and he was just rubbish. Most people picked Hinshelwood. Yeah, if there was a game week 39, we'd all be jumping on the Hinshelwood bandwagon. Is this your worst ever finish in FPL? No, it's my 4th worst out of 15 seasons. Marco game week 1 probably won't go there. Same with Nkunku. Probably not. Triple captain Bowen, very nice. A lot of people picked Rodgers this season due to pre-season. But also because he was very cheap, right? Like, price came into that quite a bit. It certainly was for me, like a 5 million player playing number 10 for Villa. United were terrible in pre-season. From a Man United fan, should have stayed clear of Bruno game week 1. Yeah, but then, again, right, then Bruno Fernandes, I think this is a terrible example. So they were rubbish in pre-season, so Fernandes was therefore rubbish. But game week 10 to game week like 16 or whatever it was, he absolutely smashed it. So the question is, how would you have known that Bruno was about to smash it, considering he was out of form? Like, how did he score a goal when he was so out of form? Who's going on the wall? Jose Sarr. What type of videos will you make starting for tomorrow? Not many, to be honest. Dan Burn was a former Wigan player. Never knew that. Is Ben Crellin a time traveller? He got Semenyo this week. Damn, that's such a good pick. I would have got Semenyo if circumstances were slightly different. Probably not over Bowen, but if I needed a cheap player, he would have been my one. Said that a lot on Deadline Stream. He scored and came into form. Well, fair enough. But how did he get that first goal? How did he manage to get himself to score that first goal, you know? Much love and eternal subscriptions. Your loyal viewer since the ancient times of 2022. Is 2022 that far away now? Thank you very much. Feels like Delap will be good next year. Depends where he goes and what his price is. You don't need to get his first return, though. Just pick him up once he's broke his duck. Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's a bit boring, isn't it? If you only ever wait for a player to score first. Oh, yeah, Reece James. Reece James not only played for Wigan, but I'm pretty sure he played in midfield. 3rd stream in a row. Have you had any food today? Yeah. I had lunch in between the Deadline stream and watch along. I had a little protein bar between the watch along and this stream, and my wife is going to get dinner about 7:30. Biggest regret this season, probably not moving Solanke on the night before he went down in price, which meant I sold Munoz. That was pretty bad. turning down buying Cunha twice was also really annoying. The first time I think was for Strand Larsen, second time was for Raul Jimenez. And like, this is where, look, fair enough if you went and bought Cunha. He was a good pick. And I even said at the time on my videos, I preferred Cunha to Strand Larsen. I bought Strand Larsen and then Jimenez, or the other way around, because I wanted to keep Trent, who I thought was a really good option. And then Trent got injured. So like, it was super frustrating. And obviously at the time, there was loads of talk about how Trent wasn't worth the money. And then when he came back, he absolutely smashed it. Like, Trent got another 10 attacking returns this season. So, you know, you look back at it now, and you kind of say, okay, it was a big regret not to get Cunha, but to go cheaper to be allowed to keep Trent, and then for Trent to get injured, like you just can't, you know, what do you do about that? That's just unlucky. Yeah, Calvert-Lewin was bad, of course. I took the player on penalties. In the end, Chris Wood ended up being on penalties, and he absolutely smashed it. It wasn't great, the Calvert-Lewin, but it is what it is. What will we do with all our cash with no Trent in the draft? I reckon defender prices might go up a little bit. The reaction to Trent today was pretty good, I think. I think they cheered when his name was called out, cheered when he came on. How much of percentage of FPL is just blind luck? I don't think there's much blind luck, to be honest. But there is some luck, right? And we've already done the form conversation, so we probably shouldn't go into skill versus luck. But anyone that says FPL is just luck is talking nonsense. Because if that was the case, you'd put no thought into picking players. Surely got to be Chris Wood. Yeah, but like, but this is where I always. Again, I'm not being arrogant at all because I've not got the overall ranks to be arrogant. But, you know, is that a learning that I should have bought Chris Wood? Like, a player with okay stats and penalties. He was a good pick for sure, but was he as good a pick as the returns? I'm not sure. Like, he's massively overperformed. I guarantee you he doesn't get anywhere close to this next season. Like 20 goals. He'll probably go back to like 12, 13 or whatever. And I know he did it the season before once Nuno came in as well. It just feels like a very long purple patch, and I'm not convinced it's going to continue. So, you know, do I look back and think I should have got Wood over Calvert-Lewin? Of course. But if you ask me whether I should have bought any player over another one that scored points, the answer is always going to be yes. I always should have picked the player that scored points. But I will keep on making decisions in a very similar fashion next season, and I'll just hope things go my way. You know, should I put more consideration into effective ownership and stuff like that? Not really. I don't really want to start watching that any more than I already do. Yeah, I suspect that, like, if anything, I think Chris Wood will be even more of an avoid next season because his price will go up. He proved me wrong for 30 weeks. Yeah, sure. It happens. I'm not, like... The thing is, I'm happy to accept that I will not get everything correct. I don't know what people expect of me. I'm not saying that I know everything because I don't. But we're also talking about Chris Wood that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, I think it's like 2 goals in 12 games or something like that. So, you know, I just... If I'd owned Chris Wood for all that time and then got rid of him for the blanks and then said, well, he's not going to continue this, I would have looked like a genius. But in the end, that's just not how FPL works, you know? When can you pick Game Week 1 team? I was having a look at the dates around the start of July. 2 of the last 3 seasons, the games come out on the 5th of July. 5th of July is a Saturday this season. So I'm hoping it comes out the week after. So like 8th or 9th, something like that. I think that player was... No, it wasn't Victor Moses. It was a forward for Wigan. I enjoy the vibes and fixtures approach. It's much more fun. Like, fixtures are always going to be key because they're a part of like the data, right? We know who's a bad defence. Man United, for one. If FPL agreed for a triple game week for Forest next season, would you consider triple captain Wood? Chris Wood wouldn't play all 3 games unless they were really spread out fixtures. I don't think we've ever had a triple game week where someone's won all 3 games, to be honest. Thanks for the Semenyo shout. Finally won my mini league after 4 seasons. Very nice. I think Wirtz will probably be like a 9 million player. Maybe 9.5. Who do I think gets the biggest price rise next season? Rodgers is probably going to be up there. Probably not in No, wait. What did Mbermo start at? 6.5. Yeah, Mbermo or Rodgers probably. Any thoughts on that horrible and disgraceful decision that cost Villa the Champions League? Yeah, I think Martinez should not have come out and taken Højlund down. Like, it was kind of madness. Yeah, even Bruno didn't play all 3 games in a triple. Oh, and Mbermo was 7. Yeah, so he's probably not. Yeah, probably Rodgers then. Rodgers 5 to like 7, maybe 7.5, possibly. Mason Greenwood played a part of all 3 games, but he didn't start all 3, if I remember correctly. Looking forward to pre-season, always. Just imagine Spurs versus Barcelona at Camp Nou next season. Let's see. Let's see. Champions League final prediction. Probably PSG for me, but I think it's going to be a good game, which I'm probably not going to be able to watch, annoyingly. United finished 15th and lost the final to Spurs. 15th? Come on. Will the overall rank change, or is this it? It'll probably change, right? I don't think it's updated yet. Not on the official FPL page. It'll take a little while because they'll want to make sure that, you know, the top 5 and stuff is done correctly. Don't think the commenter was asking about the Martinez red card. Oh, I thought they were on about the disgraceful decision. Martinez red card. Really poor decision. It was pretty bad from Matty Cash, but I don't know what Martinez was thinking. Let's say Yorkeres joins Chelsea in the summer. How much would you price him? 8.5, maybe 9? Is it a glitch that Martinez has -1 for 2 goals conceded? No. When you get a red card as a defender, you still lose points for goals conceded. Benched Evan Nilsson and played Isak. Yeah, kind of much of a muchness, really. Oh, the Rodgers thing. Okay. Yeah, that probably shouldn't have been disallowed. But Man United still played better than Villa overall. Probably deserved it. The game. But yeah, that goal goes in. Could have changed the whole game. Great thing about league position is it resets every season. That is true, yeah. United with nothing to play for can be scary. Well, next season they've only got the league to play. Well, obviously they'll be in the cups, but no Europe next season. I played Martinez instead of Pickford for the first time in 4 weeks. Oh my God. That is so bad. Fun facts, this year's FPL winner never finished inside the top 500k and only owned Haaland 1 game week. Honestly, it always happens. The person that wins FPL is very rarely someone that consistently does well. It's not very often you get like a continuous top 10k finisher who then wins. It's always someone that's just never done well before. Not always, but a lot of the time it is. Who's won, by the way? Is it the person that was already top? Let me see. Game week history. Previous rank. Oh, yeah, 500k, 1.4. Is that 14 million? No, 1.4 million. Yeah, it's always the way. It's always the way. That's why, like, I always find the story of, you know, their season really interesting to like hear them talk about. But if I was thinking about advice for like the next season, you know, you probably want someone that consistently finishes higher rather than 500k all of a sudden to number 1. But like the story of it will be really cool, and I'm sure someone will do a video on it or something like that. Not sure if I will, but we'll see. Where do I think Man United finish next season? 9th if they're lucky. Yeah, 14 million is not possible. I just read the numbers wrong. Biggest price fall, Foden. I don't think it'll be that big a price fall, to be honest. My key takeaway this season was not to bring in players that are returning from injury. Wait and see. I made a few bad decisions. Yeah, I think with that, though, it really depends on the length of injury. You know, a player missing 1 or 2 games with a minor thing is different to a player missing 2 or 3 months. And also, I think with Saka, if that's who you're alluding to, there was also the Real Madrid thing as well, which kind of hurt his minutes. I think Haaland might get a price decrease, but not by that many. United will finish above Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley. Yeah, that is hopefully true. If you had to pick another content creator that isn't you to win FPL, who would it be? Praz, maybe? Probably someone I haven't spoken to him a lot recently about FPL, but I spoke to him a lot probably first half of the season. So I feel like Praz is I feel like I'm similar-ish to how Praz plays, but Praz is just better. Yeah. Maybe James from Planet FPL. I listen to a lot of their content as well. Ahmad will most likely see a huge price rise next season. I don't know if it'll be that big, to be honest, but yeah, maybe. When am I going on FPL therapy? I'm not sure. Like, it's in London. I just don't live in England, so it's not that easy to get to. You know, for a lot of people, it's like they can go up and down in one day. Like, for me, I'd have to get a flight, probably stay overnight. It's just a bit more difficult. You having a bigger audience also makes it a bit more challenging compared to Praz. I'm not sure that's true, to be honest. Like, I've had plenty of good finishes since I did YouTube. Bring back the old bonus point system. Let defenders get bonus even if they concede. Yeah, I suspect there might be some changes to that next season because it does seem a bit weird what they did. Will I be on FPL Black Box next season? I'm not sure. Like, is it like a guest appearance? Possibly, yeah, but I don't know. Az hates me, so. Thing with FPL, even when we do well, there's always some disappointment. Yeah, always the case. 3.5k, but went Saka over Bowen. But yeah, I know what you mean, but 3.5k is still great. Bowen finished 6th best for points this season. Oof, fair enough. That's pretty decent. I think it's hard to say that someone is better than others in FPL. What do you mean, though? I'm 5 points off 5k, ended up finishing 9k. Is that surely not? Oh, you were 5 points off 5k, fair enough. I had Bowen captain all week, moved it to Saka right before the deadline, and decided to swap it back. It happens. Do I think Liverpool will win the league next season? I mean, Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, maybe. I'd find it difficult to think that Man City won't be right back up there, and I don't think Arsenal are that far off. I really don't. I know, like, it's funny that to me that Arsenal won nothing again. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're that far off. Like, one quality forward. I'm not even saying a number 9. Just another quality goal scoring forward. Could be someone off the left because Saka ain't getting dropped. Obviously, you know they don't need too much more. Maybe a bit of depth in certain positions. Like, their defense is one of the best in the world. What do you think qualifies someone to be an FPL expert? I don't really care about the FPL expert tag. Nobody uses that at all. What qualifies someone to make content? Anyone that wants to make content. You don't have to listen. They can do what they want, you know? FPL Harry must be pretty high up in the Hall of Fame. He's got like 4 to 5 top 10k. Yeah, he's five times in a row top 10k. It's huge. Like, it's such a good record. He'll be getting a lot more viewers next season, that's for sure. Even more than this season. I think that user was regarding the comment, Praz is just a better manager than me. Yeah, he just consistently finishes ahead of me. That's all. Most of the time, anyway. I actually can't remember what his previous ranks are, like all of them. But recently, I think he's been doing better. My key takeaway is fixture over reputation. I benched a lot of points this season from benching players from smaller clubs with better fixtures than big teams with worse fixtures. Yeah, I mean, there's always a balancing act, right? Sometimes, you know, a better player with a worse fixture is better to play, but it's always, you know, I think with that kind of thing, you can't give evergreen advice. You've got to take it on a case-by-case basis. Like, one week you might say, should I play this player or that player? And I might say, the player from the better team with the worst fixture. Next week I might say, well, actually, I think in this particular scenario, the cheaper player is better, or the worst player, however you want to word it. Do you think there's any FPL YouTubers that give bad advice? I don't know, honestly. Apparently, Gyökeres is close to agreeing with Arsenal, as is Zubimendi. Yeah, honestly, Zubimendi's a quality signing. Like, Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard, Gyökeres, Saka, and if they can get someone in to compete with Martinelli, especially if that's a goal scoring forward on the left side, Arsenal are not that far away. They're really not. They don't need to do anything with their defence, really. Like they might need some depth, but if they go into next season with like Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly again, well, that's pretty damn good. Or even if Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, whatever, right? And it's not just their back four; it's just their whole structure overall. Just the whole structure overall of how they set up out of possession. They're so hard to break down. Do you feel that in general the fixture difficulty against mid-table teams are much higher than a few years ago? Not really. Like at the end of the day, they're mid-table because they're not quite as good defensively, if that makes sense. So even if they are slightly better quality than they were years ago, they're still not as good as the teams above them, if that makes sense. Double Arsenal defense next season. I'll definitely think about it. Yeah. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me. If you did enjoy that stream and you haven't done so already after 38 weeks, please do make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the like as well. If you're on podcast, make sure to follow as well. I suspect I will do one more video this week, just a season review, but a bit more like structured and concise than the stream was. After that, I'm not really sure when the next video will be. Probably when the fixtures get announced. I doubt there will be any content for the Club World Cup Fantasy, but you never know. And then it's just all systems go once FPL launches again. So thank you very much for all your support once again this season. It has been much appreciated. I'm very privileged to be able to do this for yet another season next year. At least I hope I can. And yeah, I'll enjoy the break and I'll be back refreshed with some new looking graphics, maybe some new content, who knows? Probably not, for next season. So thank you very much. I'll catch you for one more video next week, and that will probably be it for a while. I'll see you soon.